Recording has started. Okay, so today the purpose of this review is to discuss NOI projections. Go ahead and raise your hand with the little icon at the top if you, as a manager, have ever done NOI projections with a different company. Yep, definitely. I know Jean has. You're going to recognize the format, Jean. Joy has. Monica. Kim, of course, has. Crystal, y'all didn't do NOI projections with Belle?
I'm sure I did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is an incredibly important tool, and y'all are going to feel super financially savvy as you get used to completing this task. So the purpose of NOI projections is to really ensure that you have a grasp on your financials and in a way that is projecting out. So if we have a huge miss, or our occupancy is off, or we have an unexpected expense, we can look at it as a group or from this report and see if there is a place, a spot that we can make up for. But in addition, is there an area that we could be managing better? So this is a really powerful tool in order to really enhance your financial performance at your communities. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to share my screen and show you guys the template. So I did go ahead and we're going to be really super nice, and we're going to do your budget inputs for you. Ruth Ann and myself are going to divide and conquer this task. Because some of the areas are combined into one. So I know that this looks super like, oh my gosh, but basically all this spreadsheet is your budget, just by major category versus 1,000 different line items. So the way that this is going to work, and I did this for Foundry, is you input the data from your budget, with which Ruth Ann and I will take care of that for you. So I literally was able to copy and paste this, and I combined the areas that I needed to in order to get your total that comes right over here. You can see right in the very top, it goes ahead and it tells you like what the average occupancy for. It's a very smart, spreadsheet. Once we start building it out, what you're going to see is that you're going to have a reforecast and a budget. So this is what we budgeted for. And as we start putting in our projections of what we think is going to happen in January, February, and March, it's going to shift. We're either going to have then a positive variance that we're projecting, or we're going to have a negative variance that we're projecting. So the reason that this reforecast tab on the front page is important is because it does a couple of different functions. So what I can do is, after we close out January, I can go into the January tab, and I'm going to fill out all of the information that's in blue. And I'm going to say, all right, we're 276 units. The projected occupancy for the accounting period through month end is 93%. We budgeted 92.7%, so kudos. It looks like we're going to exceed that. And I don't know yet what the actual occupancy is that we're going to close out with, but once we get finals, we'll come back in, we'll update the NOI projections so that we know what the actuals were. Again, projected occupancy. What report would we pull in order to know what I should project to put in there?
Zero.
I'm sorry?
Projected occupancy report.
Yeah. So you want to just pull your projected occupancy report. Now, while this is it's super helpful for January, if I pull our projected occupancy report for Foundry. Like right now, I know like, yay, they're going to close out at 93%. That's probably not going to change very much. But when I look at February and I want to project what they're going to close out for, I'm going to say they're 92.39% today. How many more leases do I think that my team can obtain before we close out in February? And that's what you're going to want to project. And the same thing for August or for March, because you're going to want to project through 90 days. So if I am at 90 or 89%, what do I think my team is going to accomplish? And you have to use some brain cells here to think, okay, this is seasonality, the market's picking up. Things really start to pick up in March. I'm budgeted at 95%. Do I think I'm going to hit that, or do I need to raise a red flag through my NOI projections that I may not hit that? So you can use your projected occupancy report here. This was super easy because, well, it already calculated it for you on the reforecast tab. Your average market rent, I just pulled this from your unit statistics report. And then I want to project. So January, all of the bills have already, all of the receipts have already been charged for rent. So in order to pull what that came to, I'm going to pull my gross potential report or gross potential rent report. And if I pull this report and I scroll all the way down, I can see that my market rent is $640,308.80. So that is my new projection. That's what the market rent is charged. What red flag might that help me see right now? Come on, guys.
We're below the budget.
We are. So do we need to make an adjustment in Yardi to the market rent because we are below the budget?
Yes.
Yep. I'm also red flag. I pulled again back to the GPR report, gross potential rent. Your loss or gain to lease. This is always a little confusing for some. When it's a loss to lease in your GPR report, it's positive. If you had a gain to lease, it would be negative in the GPR report. But their loss to lease is 62,000, and this is what has actually already posted. So I feel pretty confident about these numbers. But again, it's lighting up a red flag of something we need to think about. Our actual rents that we're executing are below market rent by more than we budgeted. So this is something I would start really thinking about with my ARM rates. If you're on revenue management, that, I really need those rents that I'm executing on to get closer in line with the market rent that I have budgeted, because that is the only way you're going to drive down that loss to lease. Then I entered in what I projected for bad debt recovery. I don't have any at Foundry right this moment, but I went ahead and projected it. And then guess what? All concessions, right back over to my gross
Did you say
potential
bad
rent.
debt recovery or bad
Or
debt?
bad
that
debt,
you're gonna
I'm
be-
sorry, I did say
Okay,
recovery,
sorry.
Kim. I just meant bad debt, not recovery.
Yeah,
I
Okay,
apologize.
I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to clarify.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going right back to my gross potential rent concessions. I scroll down to the bottom, and this is the total of concessions that we have booked at Foundry Point to date for the month. So could they have another move in and give them a partial month concession? They could. Not likely, because we offer concessions on the first full month. So this is a pretty accurate number that Jean should be able to go off of for Foundry Point. And then what is the other concession that we have in our budgets?
Employee.
Employee, exactly. So I know how many employees that I have on site. So I'm going to take that 16,514 And I'm gonna add in place with our employee concessions. Right now, I'm projecting that Foundry Point is going to do better than budget on their concessions. Vacancy loss. Well, this is exciting. We budgeted 47,000. Again, if I go back over to my GPR and I go to the vacancy. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Jean, I made a boo-boo. You aren't doing better, but you might be, right? Like, oh, this is actually calculating, Jean, based on that you're going to be 93% at the end of the month. It calculated it for you. So Jean still has to move in, so he's going, that vacancy number is going to continue to go down. And then this is the model, and they have a guest suite as well at Foundry. So this is the loss for the model for the rest of you. And then I'm projecting the other income. So one of the other tool that I use when I'm doing projections is to actually go ahead and pull your budget comparison. If you are only pulling your budget comparison at the end of the month when you're doing financials, that is absolutely not best practice. You should be pulling your budget comparison several times a week. It kind of keeps you in pace with where you are. And are there any alarming areas where you think there could be something that is off? But so I can see right here that right now, today, Foundry Point has 35,869. I know this is tiny on once you share screens, but can anybody really stare into this and tell me what number's really off in this one?
Utility reimbursements.
Yeah, so utility reimbursement has a variance of over $10,000. Jacob, why does it have a variance of over $10,000?
Likely because they haven't been inputted from accounting, I'm assuming.
Close. So our utility bills through AUM are billed back
yeah.
to the residents on the 28th of the month. So you're not going to see your utility reimbursements hit until the 28th of the month. So if I'm doing NOI projections today, I can look back on historicals and tell you that Foundry Point is going to collect $10,000 or more in utility reimbursements. So I can't just look at this number. I need to project that we're going to get $10,000 more because I know that utility reimbursements have not hit yet. So here's the positive story. When I look at that, I get my projections versus my budget. And I can see that right now, Foundry for January is looking like they're going to be in the positive from an income standpoint. They really crushed other income. And if their vacancy turns out the way that it is projecting, which it is going to, they're going to be in good shape. So I did not go ahead and fill in any of these, but questions on the income portion. Y'all are just geniuses then. Nobody has
Well,
any questions.
I
was
like-
just gonna
I like the vacancy loss too, because then you can
Mhm.
take a look at the vacancy loss and you can manipulate that. Because if you will lease something that's been vacant for a long time, that will cut that vacancy loss down on you.
Absolutely. And these get updated twice a month. And once you are in the updating framework, it's very simple. It's adding a new month where you have to do a lot more logical thinking to get you through.
And I was just gonna add, for strategy purposes, when you guys are working on this, like whenever I would do this exercise with myself or my managers, the goal here is to be as realistic as possible. And if you want to sort of like play a game with yourself or look for a measure of success with an NOI projection, you want to be able to look back at your actuals and see very little difference in your projections and your actuals. And once you start to see that pattern of you're able to project almost to the dollar of what you actually end up in month over month, once you see that pattern with yourself, then you're doing this properly. And then you'll start to see that you can manage your expenses and your income more strategically because you're making that measure exact. Whereas in, in other cases, we want to set a goal and try and reach that goal. And it's, a high goal because we want to push and we still want to do those things. But in order to really get the value from an NOI projection, then I just want to make sure everyone is focused on the accuracy of that. And you're not trying to fluff. We're really trying to determine exactly where we're going to end up so that we can pre-plan for the following months, the 30 days out and the 60 days out. That's where you're looking for your goals, your bars to reach. But in that current month, make sure you get granular and have a contest with yourself to see how close to your actuals you can come out with in your projections.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Joy. It is, if you are fluffing these numbers, or if you are just going through and you're going, oh, yep, that'll be a budget, that'll be a budget, that'll be a budget, you're missing the purpose of the exercise, and you won't make any financial changes that are impactful to the community. So it is really important to be honest and realistic. And we're going to be looking at these from a leadership standpoint to see where we're going to be at the end of the first quarter or Q2 and so on and so forth. So honesty and a critical mind path on this is really important. Any other questions before I move on to expenses? I think expenses are personally easier. Yeah, I'm sorry. Who was that? I'm sorry. You and Monica are still, I think y'all got some connection issues.
Was that better?
Yep, it's kind of here. It's just tough to hear you guys. Feel free to chat your question if you have one. Okay, I don't see any chat movement, so I'm going to go ahead and move into expenses. All right, so I personally think expenses are a little easier. So with the projections for market rent, loss to lease, all of these, the concessions that you're going to have, you really have to heavily rely on your gross potential rent report, but you also have to really do some math with, are we offering 1 month free right now at Water Star, or are we offering 2 months free? Okay, great. We're offering 2 months free. How many move-ins? If I'm doing February's projection, I need to then know how many move-ins do I have for February that I'm going to post concessions on. So you really have to get granular, like Joy said, and think it through in order to come to these numbers. Payroll. So I use this as an example. So not even accurate numbers, but I use it as an example. So I know for that Foundry Point is fully staffed minus a porter position that they have open. So I have no reason to believe that that Foundry won't be at payroll because they're fully staffed. Everyone is at their budgeted salaries. We haven't had any variations, but I know that the porter position is vacant. So if I don't anticipate that porter expense, then I have removed it from my projection. So now I have a $3,000 projected savings, and you can add your variance explanation and notes explaining why you have that. And I just did that, projecting positive variance due to vacancy and porter position. Again, you can give more information. We are anticipating to fill this position, February 15th, blah, blah, blah. But the more information you provide, the less questions you will receive from us. R&M, so this is all of your standard maintenance items. So, if I am Burton Hills and I realized that I had a major flood and I know I'm going to have some additional maintenance expenses that I did not anticipate. This is where I'm going to project those variations to say that we're probably going to go over an R&M for Burton. Make ready. How are we looking? Did we have the renewal conversion rate that we anticipated, or are we going to have more make readies than our budget anticipated? Your budgets all tell you exactly how many move-ins and move-outs you anticipated for every single month. So you should be able to pull your make ready schedule and see exactly how many make readies and turns you're going to have. The other great part about the NOI projections on this front is when you go to complete your accruals at the end of the month, with us moving to the very last day of the month, hopefully that is much more minimal. But if you are going to accrue and you know that you had 10 turns, but you've only paid for 6 of them, that is a red flag that you need to then be accruing for it. But you can take that number. If you projected that you were only going to have 10 make readies at Foundry in January, but you ended up with 15 vacating, so you have 15 make readies, then you need to, again, use that math. What is your average make ready expense? And then you will add to that. And we'll say it's a $10,000 expense that I am projecting. We are not using the recreational amenities. I can't remove it, sorry. Contract services, and I will send everybody a full list of what each one entails. So each section, I've broken it down by GL code of what is included in that section of the NOI projection. But contract services are going to be your landscaping, elevator maintenance contracts, scent management, alarm servicing that's monthly, those types of things. So again, these should not have much variation, but if it does, you need to explain why. In contract services, say that you were scheduled to have pine straw completed in February, but you completed it in January. You need to make up in your projections and include that you had that extra $5,000 expense so that we can see where you're landing bottom line. Advertising, again, if you are familiar with your contract services and keeping track of your contract list, all of these things truly tie back into the NOI projections. We should know how much our CoStar is per month. We should know what our Beacon spend is. Do we see any variation? Did we host a open house and that was an extra $500? So we need to increase by $500 and say, yeah, we spent $500 more than we allotted for because we did this, and then explain why we did it. G&A boundaries, don't panic that number looks really high with them because they have a fetch service that actually does get absorbed back through their other income. But again, any variance that you can anticipate that would occur, you would put here, good or bad. Utilities, most of our utilities have been pretty on point. So I think with you using everybody has a calculation that's in your budget and it tells you exactly how much we're paying per unit based on historical data. So you can use that information. And if your regionals haven't already scheduled your budget meetings, they are in progress with everyone. But you can use that for your utility numbers as well. So the number of occupied units, and you will have that number. If it's $36 per door, it is in your budgets. So once we go through all of that, we get our total controllable expenses and an NOI before non-controllable expenses. Non-controllable expenses are going to be your management fees, taxes, and insurance. We don't ding you for these if we have had corporate provide an educated assumption on taxes and insurance and it changes. At the end of the day, you will come out with your NOI, and clearly we didn't enter in all the numbers. I'll just do this really quick. Okay, we're gonna go over. Gonna go under. So based on these projections that are entered, I am projecting that Foundry Point is going to land at an NOI of 197,631. The budget anticipated that we were going to land at an NOI of 193,982. So Foundry is projecting for January to exceed net operating income by $3,649. If I go back over to my reforecast tab, right now I am seeing January's budgeted numbers. I'm going to change this to the projected numbers. And if you look over here, you'll now see that for the current year, we're looking at budgeted numbers, but now we have projections that we are looking to exceed budget as it currently stands for Foundry. You should always be projected for a 3-month period, but you got to have all the data there. And then past that 3-month marker, you'll leave it as budgeted. So now let's say that we get our finals and we are signed, sealed, delivered. We've done financial packages. We know everything. It's not going to change. Once we get that, we'll come back in here and we're going to put in the legit real numbers. I said that we were going to be 640 something ended up changing. We ended up with, oops, that would be a terrible number. Concession ended up being better than I thought. Vacancy ended up being right about what I thought. I was dead on here. Super close. Look at this fun tab. What this tells me, like Joy said, your goal should be to be as close as possible. You know, you're really grasping the importance of it. And you really want to ask yourself when there's a big variance, why? So this is telling you what you originally projected and what ended up being actuals. I was off by $4,261 in the good. But what can I do to project? What did I miss in order to get closer to my projection in the future? So for those purposes, I'm just going to go through here really quickly. And I'm going to say that I was just dead on. I was perfect. Perfect.
You're that good.
I'm just that good. I dare anyone to be that perfect. You'll never get it perfect, but you can get it pretty dang close. I just want you to see the full full transition through the spreadsheet. So now if I go back to reforecast, now I've entered in my actuals and you'll see those numbers change. Now I want my actuals to be what's showing. And you'll see now this is my new year-to-date variance. I know that is a lot of information. And I know that the spreadsheet looks a little daunting when you first see it. Once you are in it frequently, it is a very smooth worksheet to go through. Questions, concerns, comments, those of you who raised your hand that you have done NOI projections, how does this feel in comparison to NOI projections that you've done previously?
Very similar to what we did at Great Stars. So
Yeah, about the same.
Question on the variances though, just to
Yeah.
be clear for everybody. The explanation of the variances you want for each line item, not like a threshold like we normally do with finals.
So the variance explanation should be similar to the finals, Jean. That's a great question. If you're anticipating a variance from budget that's greater than $500, you need to provide the variance explanation. Why are we not going to hit budget?
And the variance is going to explain only on the ones that are highlighted in blue. Do you not want a variance to explain on the totals?
Nope, I just need them on the main sections. Anything in blue.
Okay, that was it.
Good questions. Other questions? Who feels intimidated by this spreadsheet? Yes, Summer, I love honesty. Who else wants to be honest other than Summer?
I'm terrified. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot.
Okay, Kia, Summer, you're both feeling nervous about the spreadsheet. Kathy. Okay.
Rachel, I
So,
want to do a
yeah.
Nathan for taking the time to put in the budget portion. I think that's kind of like the most mundane part of it all. So I appreciate that.
Jean, Miss Rachel herself put in your budget information, but yes, Ruth Ann is going to help me with entering in everybody's budget portions. It's such an important tab. I just want to make sure that all the information is super accurate. If it's not, then the report has no purpose. Okay, so I am putting a link together here with who's feeling a little bit overwhelmed by this spreadsheet. So I looked at both Bell and Graystar spreadsheets. They are very similar, and I know that we have a lot of Bell people, we have a lot of Graystar people, so this is not something that should feel as foreign perhaps to you. So I do think that this is absolutely an exercise and task that you should have one-on-one time to complete with your regional manager until you are comfortable with the process. And it is something that you're going to get significantly better at with practice. And as you start getting those first actuals in place and you're seeing, wow, I'm missing it. I'm missing it there. And we're going to review them and we'll be sending notes back of like, well, really? But the real task at hand here is we want to ensure that you all are being forward thinking. And if there is a deficit, how are you going to make that deficit up? If there is an issue with occupancy and it is now affecting your expenses where you have so much turnover, what is your strategy as a community manager to change the retention of your community? Because you can really see how it is going to financially impact you. Who likes money? Everybody here like money? I do. Kia likes money. Summer likes money. Awesome. Okay, so here's the thing. Jacob, yay, you like money too, and Kathy does too. Monica and LJ. Okay, so here's the cool part. These NOI projections, if you're feeling overwhelmed by them, or you're like, gosh, Rachel, I'm so mad that you're adding something new to our plate. Your quarterly bonuses for the financial portion, if you can become an expert at NOI projections, your likelihood of becoming a better financial operator are significantly greater, and your chances of getting that portion of your quarterly bonus are going to enhance significantly. You are forward thinking how you're going to come and save the day. And this is not just a task for the managers. Your maintenance supervisor should absolutely be a portion of the maintenance section. They absolutely should be bringing concerns and overages to your attention. And your team members should know on the leasing front how that vacant unit that's been sitting there for 150 days is affecting the financial impact that it has on the community. So what are we going to do today in order to market that unit and ensure that that one is our top focus? Any other questions, concerns, comments, insights into having done these? Christine would like to make a comment, and I would love for her to.
I've been on mute. I've been on mute. I'm sorry, hold on. Okay, so I was on mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had my computer. You're on my computer. I forgot my AirPods, so I had to dial in on my phone and bring you up on the computer screen as well. So I apologize. I was echoing. You made a good point about maintenance managers and engaging them. My only recommendation is to really engage with your maintenance managers, have them understand the budget for 2024, because they need to know what their parameters are. You don't want your maintenance manager coming into you, and I'm using Gina as an example because a foundry can be, it can get away from you rather quickly. Jonathan needs to tell you ahead of time before going over or spending that money, in order for everyone to be on the same page. So that's my only ask, is that when you guys are reviewing your 2024 budgets with your regionals, that you really truly get your buy-in with your maintenance managers, because they are so important to expenses, and you need to get on the same page, and they need to know what they have to work with and what they don't. So there's no surprises when you are doing these NOI projections, if that makes sense.
Raise your hand if that makes sense.
Anyone.
Anybody.
Yes.
I mean, because at the end of the day, how many times are you writing your variance report and you busted in make ready turnover, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand we have to turn our units, but with the environment that we're in 2024, in multifamily is not, as easy as it once was back in 2020 and 2021. It's we got to make sure that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. So that's where I implore you to really connect with your supervisors to have that understanding of the budget, so they know exactly what they have to work with, and to make sure everyone's on the same page as to expenses, and to keep within that framework. And obviously things pop up all the time, but that's when the communication starts. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Kristen. Yeah, I think I'm hopeful that all of you can at minimum understand the significance and the importance of these NOI projections. They really are extremely impactful. So I appreciate all the effort that everyone is going to put into them. As we roll out the calendar invites, we will ensure that your regional manager has some open office hours for sharing on Teams. And I think we will find quickly, those who have experience with it. We absolutely can buddy you guys up to assist with each other as well. So we're not going to just throw you to the wolves to figure this out on your own, because it is so incredibly important. So just reach out if you need assistance. I'd like everybody just to play in the worksheet and give it a whirl. There are a lot of protected rows and columns. So hopefully we won't break it, but we do have the original already in SharePoint. When you go to do this for your community and you go into the Madison Communities SharePoint folder, please remember to save a copy of it to your property folder and then make the edits. Otherwise, you are very much in danger of someone else coming in and overriding all of your data, and that would not be fun. But we will get over the input with the budgets here shortly. And yeah, happy forecasting, guys.
May I ask a quick question?
You certainly can, Summer.
The ones you sent over with this meeting, those are just the blank ones, and then we'll
Yep.
get the ones from you and Ruth Ann with our property entered into it.
Yes, I just wanted you guys to have the template to play with, and I'll be frank, when I was preparing for the review today, I was like, I really had intentions of tasking you guys with entering in the data. But I just feel like it's so much, and if we get one area wrong, it's really going to screw up the NOI projection. So we decided to gift you with completing the template for you, so that it would also be less daunting as we're introducing something new to you. But what I will promise you guys is this is forward thinking. So you are putting the legwork in earlier in the financial period. I promise you that when you come time to do your variance explanations at the end of the month, when you're doing finals, it is going to be so much easier and faster to complete that because you already know why you have the variance. You've already been explaining that. You already are aware. Nothing will be a surprise to you when you pull up your financials. Before we end this call, because we do have about 15 more minutes scheduled, does anyone need us to go over pulling your budget in Yardi? Did somebody raise their hand, or is it just still up? I can't tell. Okay, well, I'm going to do it anyway because in case people are being shy. So when you are in Yardi, if you go to analytics, financial again, you're going to input your property name. We operate on accrual books. The accounting tree is YSI_IS. And you can scroll down to 12-month budget. You will place in the entire year, and you will simply hit display. And your budget is going to populate. If you are coming in here because you want to see what has hit already, you are going to leave everything the exact same, but you are going to go to your budget comparison. I clicked the cash flow one because there's been some issues with the others in the past. This is what I trust. But now I'm just looking at January. And I can see what has already hit for January. This number, if you'll remember that gross potential rent report that we pulled earlier, this rent income number until we go final, when they put everything where it's supposed to be, it's directly related to this number. So if you pull that gross potential rent report, it's telling you what your market rent is, what your loss to lease is, and what your concessions are. Okay. But I use this all the time. I come in here often because I'm trying to check what I have left, and or if I have just kicked butt in some area. There's a lot of positive things that I'm seeing here. Garage fee income is like crushing it for Foundry. That's going to be something that's going to help them and carry them in future months. When they might be struggling on the vacancy, they might make it up. That's a whole unit rent right there for that variance. Because at the end of the day, it's the bottom line numbers that are the most important. Joy, you are our training guru. So if there is any additional items that you would like to add, or Ruth Ann, who also is done all of our new onboarding for our one-on-one with our new community managers, either one of you have anything you want to add?
Just to kind of pick up on what Christine mentioned, something that I've really found success in including the maintenance managers on in the past is, honestly, guys, if you think about it, ideally, we don't typically turn units in-house, right? Because we want to be able to keep up with our workload and provide a quality turn. However, we all know that occasionally you might have a unit that needs a touch up that we could get away with, or a sparkle, or whatever the case may be. And if you're involving your maintenance manager and looking ahead in the projections and treating it like a puzzle, like a, like a true tool instead of just a report, I promise your guys slash girls in those positions, if it comes between their quarterly bonus and having to agree over the next 60 days to do X amount of turns in-house, or to delay a project, or to approach a vendor to see if a more expensive project could be amortized over a couple of months. Like, there's ways to get creative, but you can't get creative if you don't know what your problem is. And so that's why I think all of us on the regional team, we just want to make sure that you really do get excited about this and treat it as a tool and not just as a report, so that you can figure out outside of the box ways to meet your goals for your incentives and then also for your property. And I think any of us would be happy to share like creative things we've had to do in the past on site back in the recession in 2007, or during COVID, or other challenging times in our industry where we've had to project and use NOI projections as a tool to figure out how we're going to get ahead of our deficits.
Good input. Thank you, Joy. Ruth Ann, I saw you come off mute. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. And then the rest of our regionals, Kim, Jamie, Monica, is there anything that you guys would like to express to your team members as we're taking on this new journey?
I think the biggest thing is this is going to help us stick better to the budget, and having the team together, the maintenance supervisor and the manager, so that they know their goals, where our budget is, hey, if you overspent here, where can we pull it back this month? Hey, let's get rid of that long-term vacant that's sitting there. That's going to be huge to help you. It'll open your eyes to a lot of things financially. So I encourage everybody, let's get together, let's work together, let's hit those budgeted numbers, because I think it's going to be 2024 is a new year. So, if last year you busted because you had turnover or you didn't meet your budgeted goal, it's a new year. So let's turn it to a new year and hit these budgets hard.
Woohoo!
And one more thought, and I'll hush, I promise. Another thing to remember too with your income. So I personally love trying to find income whenever I'm hurting in other places, because that's always the smarter move if you can help it, rather than pushing the property to suffer on expenses. And just because you're meeting budget somewhere, don't let those line items trick you. For example, at Harper, we have had, and abundance is not even an appropriate word for it, of lease takeovers, right? Of notices, people wanting to break their lease, et cetera, that have found takeovers, want to do the addendum, et cetera. And during that hardship, there's not a line item for that takeover fee income per se. You have transfer fees, you have terminations, you have these other areas, but I wasn't missing anything out with that situation. However, with the just thinking about it and how much we were suffering with getting that done, and then also seeing some other places, because we were really missing an occupancy, we were able to help make up and exceed our income by just increasing that takeover fee. So I think originally we had it at like 300 or a normal admin fee, and then we pushed it to 5. And honestly, I'm considering pushing it even to like a 750, because it's way less than their termination. So it makes sense for the resident to pay / their new person, and it's income that we weren't anticipating. Storage units, there's always sneaky stuff there. Every little dollar counts. If you have met your goal for storage units, but you could run a special, that's a good one. Doing a pet fee audit with a finder's fee. So if you shoot out an e-blast to your community and say, hey, we have quarterlies coming up, just so you know, we're going to be doing an audit and we see some new pets. If we discover your pet prior to you registering it for us, we're going to be issuing a $250 finder's fee. You may not actually issue a lot of those, but it's going to scare people into flooding into your office to register their pets if you need a little extra income that month. There's sneaky ways to try and find income when you're missing it.
100%.
Good stuff. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add?
So this will actually be the first time that I've utilized a report like this, and I'm really excited. I think it'll definitely, I know one thing for me that I knew was going to be a focus was to get more proactive as opposed to reactive when it comes to financials for the communities. And I think that this is going to be a great tool to do that. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. That is truly what it is about. It is about being proactive, and this allows you to do that. All right, guys, is there anything our community managers would like to say or add before we go ahead and wrap up this call? Okay. Well, something additional you guys are going to see rolled out here shortly is we are going to be doing a fun, non-required, is not required, but we're going to be adding coffee with the crew. It is going to be some dial-in time where if you want to grab your coffee in the morning and join our regional team, is going to be on. It'll be a fun place to just share ideas. It is not a reporting spot. It is not a you're doing this right and you're doing this wrong. It is for collaboration, open talk, open communication, issues, ideas, marketing ideas, income ideas, anything that you guys want to share. Or if you guys need to just vent and have a good laugh with each other. I will give you your privacy on these calls because I want you guys to just really enjoy it with each other. And it won't be, it will not be portfolio specific. It'll be for everyone. So you guys will see that come out in the next 30 days to be able to join. And again, it'll be when you can, but you know, as we're rolling out some of these new things, it absolutely can be a part where you guys have that discussion and work as a group collaboratively with NOI projections or anything that you guys want to talk about from an operations standpoint as an entire group. So fun stuff coming in 2024. Let's crush it, guys. Woohoo.
We're in.
Awesome. I'm excited.
We're excited too. We're really excited to have all of these new faces. Welcome to the team. And if you have not met all of your team members, hopefully those coffees or coffee with the crew will be a great way for you guys to make more connections and establish with each other as we go through 2024. Ooh, Jean, do you think we should do coffee with the crew and like require cameras to be on if you join?
100%.
I mean, I feel like then people get to know you and your face, and you know,
like
if you,
That's
like,
admission.
do you look
That's
super
admission to get into
sleepy in the
coffee.
morning? My camera doesn't work though, but you know, anyway, yeah.
I like
Jean,
it.
I mean, I just think we should like Jean can show off his different stylish outfits, and don't we have? Oh no, that was Adam. He liked to wear different socks.
Yep.
Dapper Jean.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's about to explode and
Oh,
he can't fit it in my office.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Cheers to a killer week. And thank you for all that you guys do.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Rachel.